Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. I'm back here in Central Park, so not in my usual location for Monday to Friday, but we're back with another video. The team got released, the team sheet, everybody that boarded the plane, the list is out for the team that are flying to America. There are some surprise absentees, some players that didn't make the plane that I was not expecting. I was expecting certain man to be there. They're not. It caused a bit of anarchy, a bit of frenzy in the fan base. For some positions, you can potentially understand why. I'm here to maybe calm you down and take you through it and bring a bit of, composure, a bit of calma to your day, because some people are losing their minds when they see this team that's going out there. They're thinking to themselves, where are we going to finish in this Premier League? Now, a lot of the reason as to why people are worried, of course, is because there's a lot of untried, unearthed talents in that team. Players like Angelo, players like Andre Santos, people that we've not seen play for 90 minutes before, or at least most of us haven't, unless you've been watching obviously the Under-20 World Cup. You're worried about those particular players being in this team because you haven't seen them and you don't know what you're going to get from them. And there's a lot of players like that. There's a lot of players that don't have a lot of experience, the midfield in particular, but there's a lot of talent. And for me, my first positive before we get to some of the negatives, which are the injuries, which we got to go through. My positive is the fact that this is a very cleansed, fresh, refreshing team. There's no Deadwood really in this team. There's nobody in this team that doesn't want to play for Chelsea. Everybody that's boarding that plane is absolutely buzzing their tits off to prove themselves to Pochettino and to make a claim to be in that Chelsea squad for next season. And that's what this was meant to be about in terms of the early part of the summer, was a clear out, a clean house, getting players out the door that don't want to be at Chelsea. We have to remember the priorities here. Now, of course, now we go into the rest of this window. We want to improve on the first 11. We want to bring in top talent. We can, with the time we have left on the clock, there's no reason as to why we can't get 2-3 players potentially through the door in key positions, and then everybody's a lot calmer. Of course, that hasn't been done yet, so there's a lot of stress. But for me personally, the main goal was to see a Chelsea team that I actually liked again, a team that want to play for us, a team that want to be here. And there's talent. I use Enciso as an example, or Matoma as an example at Brighton. Two players that a lot of people were ready to dash, 30, 40, and in Matoma's case, at some point, 50, 60 million on. Unearthed talents from the season just past that nobody really knew about the season prior. We have players in there that I have no doubts a couple of them will make a name for themselves this season. You've got to be excited about that. You've got to be ready to embrace that. There's no point getting up in arms in the fact that you're not seeing a glittered world-class, Chelsea squad. You knew you wasn't going to see that. We know we need a midfielder. We know that there are some players in there that are risks, but if you don't take a few risks, there will be no reward. We're still in the market. We have money. We will go and get more players, I'm sure, but I'm just happy to see that this is not last year's squad. Let me remind you of last year's squad. There were players like Batshuayi. There were players like Marcus Alonso, Emerson Palmieri, Kennedy, just to name a few. Now we have players, you can't name much Deadwood here. There's a lot of players that have come up from the Under-21 team that I didn't speak about this morning because they could have picked anyone really. I wasn't too sure. Now, the first big news for today in terms of who's not on this plane is Ampadu. Ethan Ampadu not on this plane. That's the first one I got wrong. He's going to Leeds for around £7 million. Listen, his contract expires in 2024. Makes sense that, we cash in. I'm kind of disappointed over the last couple of years, the fees that we've ended up getting for Ampadu and Billy Gilmour. I think it kind of shows that we didn't maybe develop them or send them out on the correct loans. Billy Gilmour going out to Norwich and getting booed in a team that didn't play a possession-based game. Ampadu getting, basically sent to relegation fodlers. We should have been commanding minimum 14 million for one, let alone 14 million for the pair. So a bit disappointing. But that for me steadies and really stables my opinion on Trevor Chalobah. I have said for a while now that if Trevor Chalobah is your versatile player and Ampadu's your versatile player, you've got to keep one of them. You need a player in this squad that can come in and do a job. I'm not saying they're world class, I'm not saying they don't make mistakes, but they come in and do a job. Think of your John O'Shea's under Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, a player that can play a multitude of different positions. Trevor Chalobah, Ethan Ampadu, they have experience at right back, centre back, DM as well, and because Ampadu is leaving, for me, we need to keep Trevor Chalobah. And my opinion was only steadied and more, for me, solidified as the day went on, because I was going back and forth with people on Twitter, debating it and going back and forth having our opinions. And then as soon as I seen Wesley Fofana, who's the first player I'm going to mention, knee injury, not on that plane, it only reassured my belief that we have to be keeping Trevor Chalobah. I know there's been links with clubs elsewhere. I'm a bit wary of letting too many players leave at once. We've already sold a lot of the players we needed to sell due to contract expiring, injury prone, or players that don't want to be here. I don't think we should be looking to sell players that we don't have to sell in this window. Especially with Trevor Chalobah's contract expires in 2028. His market value is not going to drop, in my opinion. So I think this is a player that is going to be happy to compete for places in the first team. Yes, he may want to make the Euros, but if Fofana's going to keep getting injured, then there's more than enough opportunity for him to play. If he plays brilliantly and he's in form and he's doing a great job in helping us keep clean sheets, I have no problem with him starting. I'm not going to make preconceived or prejudgments on the fact that he's definitely not going to be able to hold it down for a couple of games in the Premier League. If he proves himself. If he doesn't, we have Thiago Silva that potentially has to step in, even though he's a lot older. Maybe we have to look at potentially playing Badiashile and Fofana in the same centre-back pairing. I know they're both left-footed. It's a little bit, backwards in the football world to play two left-footed centre-backs together. But I think Levi Colwill, potentially, maybe his right foot might not actually be not poor, certainly maybe at least decent, average. So it could work, but it's something that maybe Poch will try in these preseason games. So look out for that. That's something to look out for. Potentially two left-footed players playing together this season. Obviously, Badiashile is not on this plane. He is recovering from injury. Reece James is not on this plane as well. He is ill. He didn't get on the plane because he's ill. I hope he's actually ill and he's not injured, because remember there was a little bit of a precaution on his potentially previous backdated injuries. There was a precaution. They were taking precautions over the few days. They were speaking about it a few days ago that Reece James is taking precautions. So I hope that is not related to this illness and he's actually ill. He joins up with the squad soon. So no Badiashile, no Fofana, no Reece James, and also no Amando Broja. He's also recovering from injury as well, still as he was before, but he's not on the plane because of that. And that's a shame as well, because it means we just have Jackson really as our recognised striker, in Cuckoo as our recognised second striker or forward. So we're looking a little bit light in that position as well. Obviously with Broja not being back yet. Got lots of options on the wide areas. I think the wide areas is probably one of the positions that I'm most excited about to see in pre-season. Looking at this team, you've got Mudryk on the plane, Sterling on the plane, Madueke, Angelo, and of course Diego as well from Benfica. There's quality in there in terms of high potential and also a little bit of experience with Sterling, but there's also some untried, untested, unproven talent as well in there. We'll see how they do, and then we'll make our judgments from there. Midfield is where everybody's panicking a little bit. Enzo Fernandez, Gallagher, Carney, Santos, Cassidy, and Lewis Hall. Again, it's a very refreshing midfield. We know Lewis Hall's a very good player. He came into the team at left back, created a bundle of chances, brilliant crosser of the ball, etc., and really actually was one of the most uplifters of the performers that we saw towards the back end of last season. Carney as well. He's shown that he can mix it with the people in the double pivot at times. Andre Santos we haven't seen, and obviously Cassidy we haven't seen in Chelsea shirts, so there's a little bit of a risk there. People are worried. We just need one of those potentially to really kind of surprise us, and then suddenly now we have an option. But we do need to sign someone. We do need to sign a midfielder. We know that. I'm not speaking about Caicedo anymore. I'm not speaking about in this video, but we know we need to go and close that deal. So if you add him to that, it helps. It certainly helps, and it calms a lot of people down. Fullback positions, we're good. We have gusto for moments like this where Reece James is ill or injured or whatever the case may be. So I'm not too worried there. Goalkeeping situation, like I keep saying, I'm worried. But that's my business. It's not Poch's. Poch was, Poch is going to go with Kepa. The club are going to go with Kepa. Let's see how he does. He's a good shot stopper. Hopefully he can get us through this season. All we need to do is finish, for me, in the top 5, which is Champions League qualification, and we go from there. But we do need to make some additions. But like I said, the positives to take from this team that has come out today is the fact that there are no Deadwood. There are no players in there that you could say don't want to be here. There's no players in there with the wrong attitude. Lukaku is not in that squad. Aubameyang wants to leave. They haven't taken him to just make the team look better on paper. They haven't taken Ziyech. He's leaving. Again, they haven't taken him to just make the team sheet look better on paper. There's nobody in that team that is going on that plane that doesn't have a point to prove, that doesn't want to be here, that doesn't have the capacity to potentially surprise us and do something special in pre-season to change a lot of the discourse or concerns going around currently. I would prefer it to be a fresh team like this, a team that could surprise me, a team that's youthful, with energy, with ability, with technical players in there as well, that we know we need to add to, then see a bunch of disillusioned, you know, players that are going to potentially rock the apple cart, that are not going to train, you know, to the highest, you know, capabilities that they can, and disturb the dressing room. I'd much prefer what we have right now. So we know what we need to add. We just need to add it. It's down to the Chelsea board to get deals done, right? You've had your time to do your negotiations backstage. We've heard about a 70 million bid that was sent in last week for Caicedo. I do understand the negotiating tactic of going in low ball, you know, earlier, just to say that, listen, we're not just going to come and hit your asking price of 100 million, which I think is overpriced for Caicedo. We're going to go 70. I think before Ornstein reported a 60, and we're trying to get them at the 80, 85 range. If you just go straight to 85, then they're probably going to say, actually, you can go to 100 then, because you seem desperate, you want to go straight in, you don't even want to negotiate, so you're going to just actually pay the 100. So it's about tactics, it's about making sure we don't get ripped off, but we also need to counterbalance that negotiation finances with making sure that Pochettino has the players so he can work with them in pre-season as soon as possible, so he can implement his system, his tactics, and what he wants to do next season. There's a fine balance. You know, how much is it worth bringing in someone on deadline day in terms of their transfer fee, as opposed to bringing them in before or just as pre-season starts? What is the differential there in terms of price tag? Would you rather spend 10 million more to have them at the beginning, or would you rather save 10 million and get them on deadline day? Obviously, that's two massive extremes, polar opposites of the spectrum, but that's the way you got to look at it, your pros versus your cons, because your manager, he needs your players as well. He needs the players to work with. It's not just about the finances. So listen, you let me know what you think in the comments down below about the team that's hopping on that flight. They will be playing Wrexham on Wednesday. I will hopefully, I think, more than you can believe, be doing a watch along, as long as, you know, the Wi-Fi holds out. If not, the review will be there. But listen, we plan to be there. We plan to be there. And you will be there too. So listen, everybody will be there. So listen, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, and smash up the likes, and I'll see you guys next time. In a bit, people. Peace.